Welcome back. I'm Bill Rubenstein, your SAT expert for ProfessorIt.com. Let's talk for a minute about vocabulary and scoring. Everybody, it seems, wants to get a high score on the SAT. But of course, if everybody did, the test would have no meaning and no purpose. On the other hand, can you imagine a world where everybody did possess a high level of reasoning ability and everyone could read and discuss complicated material at a high level? Think of the solutions we'd be likely to find to big problems: the economy, the environment, poverty, war, health. Or maybe not. If everybody was highly skilled at reasoning, I bet there'd still be war, famine, pollution, and injustice. People are just more complicated than that. Remembering, reasoning itself doesn't guarantee that the person who possesses it will use it even for the good of society. There's a Dr. Evil in every computer lab, right? And if everybody had a highly developed facility at reasoning, there'd still be an SAT. The bar would just be a lot higher. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think that it would be a better world if people could think. I do, of course. But what I hope you're beginning to infer is that it's just not possible for everybody to score the same. And that's not entirely a bad thing. It's a fact of life. In a competitive society, people are always going to be seeking out the best and the most productive. If that's the case, then why should we train for the test? Well, one, because since it is a skill, reasoning is teachable and learnable. And two, since you have the innate ability to think, it is indeed your birthright as a human being, don't you think? You might even have a responsibility to learn to do so. That might be a moral question. But moving beyond reasoning for a moment, let's consider whether there might be aspects of the test that are not specifically connected to reasoning, such as vocabulary. In the old days, the College Board was accused of racial bias because some of the material on the test referenced cultural experiences alien to certain ethnic groups. It's easy to see how blacks living in the inner city might have felt at a disadvantage deciphering the inner meaning of a narrative dealing with the struggles of a preppy coxswain on the Yale crew. Thankfully, that kind of bias is long gone. Indeed, it's notable how politically correct the test material has gotten. But the test definitely discriminates against one group of students, those with a poor vocabulary, which these days is a group that sadly encompasses a great swath of the landscape of our youth. Without words, all the reasoning skill in the world will still run up against a certain handicap. So along with training your mind to think like a computer, you need to fill it up with words. Many test prep companies force feed their students with flashcards. And frankly, there are times when this may be a necessary technique. But I hope you're smarter than that, and you'll do the far better thing: become a reader. Reading of any kind, of course, is good. If you love Harry Potter, read all the books and read them again, but don't stop there. If you love fantasy, try science fiction. If you like science fiction, try science fact. If you're hooked on Dan Brown, try reading actual history. And if you love history, start keeping up on current events. It's ridiculously easy to do so. Whether you read the Huffington Post or Politico.com, you're spoiled for choice on the internet. And don't forget the traditional media. Read the LA Times, the New York Times, the London Independent, the Economist, the Far East Economic Review, Harper's, Smithsonian, and the New Yorker. How about Sports Illustrated? Why not the New York Review of Books? If you don't know who Paul Krugman, David Brooks, Frank Rich, and Thomas Friedman are, it's time to find them in the New York Times. And if you do know them, you should check out LA Times car critic Dan O'Neill, who won the Pulitzer for his insanely brilliant examinations of everything you need to know about the latest in automobiles. I'm not even going to bring up poetry and fiction, where you can learn everything you need to know about the meaning of civilization. Except to say the obvious, that the person who reads and understands the works of the greatest minds in history is likely to know a lot of words and unlikely to have the slightest trouble on a relatively simple test. And that the person who can't be bothered to understand the thoughts of the best of those who've come before probably shouldn't be surprised if they're not chosen to be among those who will lead us on into the future. I'm Bill Rubenstein, your SAT expert for ProfessorIt.com.